Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Lianne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified Master Neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together.
Hey! Welcome. Carol, I know we are so excited to dive into this week's topic about unhooking from the how, right?
Yes.
You and I have had a lot of conversations lately with bold leaders, and there seems to be this theme of how that keeps coming up. So I know that you have a bit of a story to tell to kind of get us started. So do you want to start us off there?
I would love to. I think this topic is so important that we're addressing right now because I have been hearing it over and over and over. I want to do this, but I don't have a strategy. I want to do this and I don't know how. And I can tell you, in all honesty, my brain has done that a bazillion times. And what comes up around that is the fear and the overwhelm. And it's like, well, what am I going to do now? And it is completely backwards. That's the exciting part. So I just met this lovely woman named Jane, and we were spending time together at an event, and she was frustrated about not hearing the strategy that she thought she wanted, restarting a business. And the interesting thing was the how was all over the place. But her mind wasn't able to grab onto it because you and I know why, the neuroscience. And the brain, neuroscience-wise, the brain always goes to the how. Yeah. Like it just bypasses everything else. And when we think about what's important, it's really not the how. It's really the who and the what and the why, right? It's the what we want. And it's the we hear the term mindset work, but it's the way our brain operates it to want to figure out strategy while skipping the subconscious, skipping the operating system that we've absolutely got to reprogram, or else it doesn't matter. We can have all the how in the world, and we're not going to get there unless we're reprogramming what we're operating by.
Well, right? And it comes kind of from that identity piece, right? The identity and then the place of that decision, right? Oftentimes before the how is even just the decision to make that commitment and then step into that. And and I just want to lean into, like, for the brain, it makes sense why we're looking for the how, because the how equates to safety. The how equates to step by step, right? If we know exactly the exact steps to take, it does break it down, which is really powerful for the brain, and these bite-sized chunks. So you know the action that you could get into. Yeah. But as what you're saying, Carol, like, you can be presented with the how, and the how is all around us. But if we're not operating from the place of being committed and believing in ourselves, then we get tripped up, and our brain is now going to keep us safe from even implementing the how. And so then what happens, we keep looking and searching to try and find the how, when the how is simply right in front of us. It's just that there's a disconnect, because one, if you went and implemented the how, then you're going to get to somewhere that maybe your brain's keeping you safe from. Yeah. You experience procrastination, right? Yeah. Or the perfection from actually putting anything out there. And so then you find yourself not creating the result that you're looking for. And then you keep looking for the how because you're not getting that result. But it's just the cycle of the loop of what your brain's keeping you in, which is that's we also lean into, like, how to get right unstuck and out of on your own way. It's interrupting that. And the interruption of that, right, is how you're thinking. the approach that you're going at it by, right?
It's so true. And, exactly what you're talking about reminds me of the airplane that is constantly course correcting to get
Mm,
you to the
yeah.
destination. If it's off just a tiny little bit, you're going to get to a different destination. And that's what is actually happening when we put the how and the strategy and the plan first. It's great to have a plan. It's great to have a strategy, and we need those things. And, we do want to break those things down into the bite sized chunks, but we always tell you and explain or share with you that you can't outperform the
Yeah.
subconscious. So if you're on track to get to destination B from point A, and yet your subconscious is telling you that you can't get there for some reason, that you're not good enough, you aren't loved, you aren't safe, then you can be walking on that path and your brain's going to continually be redirecting you back to what's familiar,
Yeah.
back to what's safe. And this is where you're going to start to see the overwhelm, you're going to see the procrastination, you're going to see all of the obstacles that show up and get in the way from you getting to the destination you want. And exactly what you were saying, Alex, we're going to get over here to destination C when we were going for destination B, or we're going to stay stuck at point A and just, get a little way and be going, why can't I get past this? And so it's great to put these things in the proper order and to know that the strategy will work for you when you are doing the rewiring process, when you are reprogramming this and, following the steps that we've been talking to you about, the identity that you brought up, right, Alex? And breaking it down small. These things are so critical for your immediate success, your destination B, and your long term ongoing success. It's literally working with this powerful asset that you have. And so I just want to encourage you, if you're like, I need to know how to get there, just take a deep breath, take a pause, know that when you start to do the work of unwinding, reprogramming the negative stories that you have, the negative internal chatter, the limiting beliefs, not knowing who you really are, that you can start to incorporate and weave in a plan and a strategy alongside this that's going to actually get you where you want to go.
And I think what's important to lean into too, Carol, right? When we think about where we want to go is having the clarity on what exactly it is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we see it, right? We're more in this reactive state and we're more in this like forward motion versus, you and I will often look at what is it that you want, right? Getting clarity on that direction or that destination and then working the way backwards of like, okay, so this is what you want. You have clarity on what is it you want. So
Yeah.
then if this is the result, what are the actions that you need to take? And the thing is, it's the actions oftentimes are within. And so we always find that usually our clients have a really good sense of what the action is. And the action might be, I get to connect with somebody to understand this piece. But it's not
Mhm.
necessarily like the whole breakdown of this massive, of the how. It's
Yeah.
understanding again, what is it that you want? And what often happens is our brain, when we do declare the bigger vision, when we do declare the bigger thing that we want, our brain goes to the how. And so it's learning to intercept that and just focusing on again what it is that you want and why you want it and leaning into the how will figure itself out. The how
Yeah.
always does it. You mentioned that earlier, right, Carol? Like it'll figure itself out because
Yeah.
sometimes with the how, it can be unpredictable. So if you have clarity on where you want to go, then when things happen, you're more easily able to adjust in order to get there versus looking at I'm just thinking like, one size fits all kind of solution, which is going to look different for everybody else. And I'm just thinking about one of the exercises that I did on my workshop the other week, Carol, right?
Oh, so good, Alex, Lianne. So good.
Leaning into, right. So the audience was invited to write a letter from their 85-year-old self to their present day self.
Yeah.
And it opened up so much for so many of the participants because they realized when they looked at themselves at 85 and how they felt and what they had, accomplished, things looked very different from that angle than many in the audience who had maybe done something similar where they wrote it from their present day to their 85-year-old self. There was a shift in how they were looking at it and how to create that result, and which was so beautiful and powerful to see. And that's the power of the brain, right? Kind of starting with that end in mind and then working your way backwards and leaning into that the how really will figure itself out.
It's so true. And I loved going through that exercise again. Very familiar with it. It's a part of the Diamond Transformation Program, but it was great for me because it distills what's really important, and it gets rid of a lot of the clutter. And especially as leaders and high achievers, we're great at bringing in the overcommitment, the drive, the got to get it done, and leaving behind some of these important things where when we look at things and really distill them down, it's like, oh yeah, that's what really matters. That's what's really important. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I also love what you spoke about when you step into the how. Action does bring clarity, right? And so it is giving ourselves permission to do it imperfectly, to do it messy.
Yeah.
And by not holding back and taking the action is where what's in our subconscious gets revealed to us. It's where the negative internal chatter kicks in big time when we're starting to step out and do something courageous. And that's the time when we don't want to skip past that. We want to grab that. We want to grab those negative thoughts that are coming up. And that way we can take them from the subconscious into the conscious mind, and we can really go to work on rewiring them. And it's revealing, right? When we take the action. So that is a very important part. It's not about not taking action, but it is also about breaking it down small. And I know one of the things you and I do is we break a year into 90 days. And we reverse engineer things with our clients too. Okay, what do you want to do? What needs to get done in this month? What needs to get done in this week? What needs to get done today, right? Bringing it back to what's really relevant and important so that we're not running off and trying to do a lot of things without really distilling down to what's going on inside of us. And it's a process. That's why we're here for you. That's why we invite you to have a mentor and a guide, because you need somebody to help clarify these things and take you through the process so that when the how comes in, you can actually follow it, again, getting to the actual destination that you want. And I want to be clear about that too. This is not a locked in thing, right? There's a very big difference between being on a journey and gaining clarity and figuring out, oh, I actually wanted to be at B.5, or I want to move over here to D, right? Those are important things to know too, the flexibility and the freedom you have. But it's if you're wanting to get from A to B and you're not getting to B because of your mental obstacles, because of things that are wired into your neural network from childhood that are not your fault, that are causing you to get those results, that's where it becomes extremely important to know that if you want to be at B, you can be at B. You get to B and you want to change to C or D, you can. It's not locked in, but it's clear, right? it's getting to where you want to go. And that's the powerful and important thing. Or else you can just be on the spin cycle for years and not know, not understanding, not knowing why you're not getting there, what's happening. And that's the part that we talk to you about all the time that we really love, right?
So, and just to kind of like when I'm hearing Carol speak, it's leaning into what does this unhooking from the how mean? It's really getting you into action. It's
Yeah.
ultimately getting you into action and really getting you off of exactly like the whole stop, go, the spin cycle. So you're actually getting into the action. And when you get clarity on what it is that you want and where you are heading, then you step into, again, as we said a little bit earlier, like the identity, right? And the belief system from the person who's already created that. And when you
Yeah.
look at it from that angle, things start to open up and fall into place in terms of the how of how it all takes place. Looking at a
Yeah.
reticular activating system, right? Looking
Yeah.
at the clarity, looking at the focus, and then the ability to lean into the decisions that you get to take in order to take action. So,
Yeah.
and that's what we see. We'll often see a big difference between the action taker versus someone who's stuck spinning. And it becomes a lot linked to what's the brain telling the person who's getting into action, and what's the
Yeah.
brain telling the person who's just spinning. And it's oftentimes linked to, right, their automated negative thoughts, their inner critic, the inner chatter that's holding them back. And so to stay stuck, to stay spinning, it's the constant search for the how. If I just knew how, I just knew how. And again,
Yeah.
that's just your brain's way of keeping you safe, versus the action taker is willing to almost in a way experiment in a way, right? Because they're not
Yeah.
afraid to take action
Yeah.
and to lean in and trust that it's all gonna unravel, and you're gonna learn along the way. And I'm just always thinking about, how it's fascinating how things just, the way that they happen and they unravel, and like one thing leads to the next, which leads to the next. That's
Yeah.
going to happen for someone who's in action. Someone who's in inaction is just going to spin, feel very frustrated,
Yeah.
possibly shut down, right? End up experiencing the whole fight or flight and not get those results. And it starts with, we know, right, Carol, it starts with the operating system. It starts with our brains. Like that is the guide from
Yeah.
here, right? And that's connected to our heart. And then from there, then it's, the hand connection, right? But it's all led back to, the mind and our hearts. And so there gets to be alignment there, right? To be able to get into
Right.
action. So yeah,
I
so I
think
just
I love that, and I think for our call to action today, it's really to slow down a little bit when you're looking to the how and look to the want and the why
Mhm.
instead. Really go there and set your intention. So, this is actually about taking action without knowing the how. And I love the word you said, experiment. And one of the things that can happen that I hear a lot is people are taking action, but then they're running into walls, and it can
Mm.
take you a long time. Your brain is so powerful. And on top of it, God in our universe is always working for us. So you are probably going to find your way with or without this work. I hear different things all the time where people have aha moments, but the difference is that it takes forever and you hit a lot of walls that you don't have to hit
Mhm.
when you're doing the reprogramming work, when you're doing the rewiring work alongside of the action steps. Then that's where the how starts to become more and more clear, more and more evident. And you're going to be able to follow the how without the blockage, without the obstacle. So to go into the how first, you're going to be able to actually speed through the how and get here and be so excited. And it's going to be a part of who you are and your being and
Mm.
your success. And you then get to go to the next level. And we have steps along the way that are super powerful and important for you to be able to change your beliefs, make the decisions that you want, take the actions that you want, and get the results that you want. So I want to invite you, really listen in to any limiting beliefs, automated negative thoughts as you think about taking action. Do not ignore them. Write them down, call them out, because this is where the reprogramming work really starts. And know that you already are this person over here who who is extremely bright, successful, abundant, living a full life and impacting other lives, serving other people. So, yeah, we just want to share that with you and can't wait to share more.
And as always, Carol and I do have some lovely gifts that we like to share with our listeners. So, Carol, do you want to explain what gift you have for our listeners that will support them with their money?
I do. Jump down into our show notes and grab the wealth activation. This is a way to start to put your brain to work for you and bringing in the wealth you want. I'm also doing a series of master classes on healing your money stories, and I'll be letting you know very soon when the next one is. I'm traveling right now and I'm so excited about that. And so I love what Alex and I are bringing to you to empower you to live the life that you absolutely deserve. Yeah.
And if you're experiencing any self-doubt in your leadership, right, or feeling like you're lacking confidence and really wanting to step into owning your voice and you own your worth, I've got my Boldly Own Your Expertise gift. And again, go into the show notes, grab that, and that'll help you, really become unleashed and unstoppable with your voice and your expertise as a leader. So you can go out there and create that impact that you were put on this earth to be able to create, right? So
that's right.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast. We are all about you unhooking the how, and we hope that this supported you in that. And we'll see you on our next episode next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.